with my number 7 choice for a very particular reason. I felt like I was this character, at least to some extent. It's Jane from Daria. Which I know might shock some of you, as you may think I would just automatically go for Daria as one of my favorite characters. She is the star of the show, and in many respects probably the most complex. But for almost purely selfish reasons, I relate more with Jane because I felt I was more like Jane. I was sort of that smart-ass artist who just wanted to be left alone to draw whenever I could. Which is not to say I didn't talk to anyone. I found those few select people that I did want to discuss things with. But oftentimes just being in a room working on a piece of art can be just as rewarding as going out some night with friends. And Jane seemed to be a big fan of that too. She wasn't quite die-hard miserable as Daria was. She actually enjoyed the human experience, which, yeah, Daria would at times too, but be very reluctant. Jane would still enjoy something different, and be open to new possibilities. Which is not to say she wasn't a cynic, she was. But she could also find joy in things, and I really appreciated that. Like many kids my age, I was not a fan of high school and the fact that I had to return to this place 5 times a week. But rather than just bitch and moan about it, I thought, turn it into some artwork. See if I can grow myself in various ways of expression. Which of course, I didn't know I was doing at the time, but who does at that age? And yeah, a lot of the artwork was pretentious, just like Jane's work was, but we were still learning. But enough about how similar we are. Because if I had to be truly honest, I knew that it wasn't just Jane that was in me, but very much Upchuck. Yeah, as much as I hate to admit it, I knew he was in me too. In my dream memories, I was Jane, but in reality, I knew I was Jane and Upchuck. Geeky, awkward, and sometimes too egotistical. But screw it, I knew the elements of Jane is what I admired the most. And would pray I was more like her than I was Upchuck. She was always the perfect complement to Daria because she was never completely against reality, she just questioned it. Daria always seemed closed off to anything new, and sometimes she was right, but other times she was wrong. Jane would at least give new things a chance, whether it be people, events, or even job opportunities. Daria would eventually learn that too, but it took her a little longer, and maybe that's why she was the focus of the show. You could see much more of the journey. But I admire Jane too for how much she did know about herself, but also how much she didn't, and yet still had to respond to it. A lot of people have a huge backlash when Daria actually gets a boyfriend, but I really enjoy it because it shows the dynamics between two really good friends. And yeah, the boyfriend is bland and way too perfect, that did bother me. And it did force Daria to make way too many mistakes and him always being right, that kind of pissed me off too. But I liked the conversations that came out of it. I like that it showed that a friendship can be so strong that it can last this, but at the same time, it still created that doubt. It created those questions, and those times are gonna happen in really close friendships. And the fact that both of them could find the maturity to find somewhere to be reasonable, especially in high school, shows signs of really good qualities from all the characters. And the fact that the writing could do it well enough where it never quite seemed forced, it actually did seem believable enough, is also very impressive. I think love triangles, when they're played for drama, almost always crash and burn. But the fact that these two had such a good friendship and would actually discuss it and talk about it, as maturely as two high schoolers, screw it, two people could, really showed that there were some great characters here. And Jane was by far my favorite. Cynical and funny, but still open to the new, Jane is the high school artist I always wanted to be, even though I probably wasn't.